Alright, so I'm going to do my lesson plan for literacy elements. This is second grade ELA, and it's going to take two 20-minute class periods. And in my class, there are 3 groups of first graders with 18 students in each class, so I'll be teaching this 3 times a day, just like the last lesson plans I've done. So for this lesson plan, I will describe how characters in a story respond to major events and challenges. In the past, we would have learned how to recount stories, including fables and folktales from diverse cultures, and determine their central message, lesson, or moral. Today, like I said, we're going to describe how characters in a story respond to major events and challenges. And in the future, so our next lesson after these 2 days of this lesson, we will describe how words and phrases supply rhythm and meaning in a poem or song, determine the meanings of words and phrases that are used in that text. So again, the objective for today is the learner will describe how characters in a story respond to major events and challenges. So for motivation, I stated we had to pick a book and read it, which I'm going to have my book linked in a new video of me reading it. That way I can show the actual book. So I'll have that posted, a YouTube video of that posted. So for motivation, the teacher will read the book. I chose Ron's Big Mission by Rose Blue and Corinne Nadine. The teacher will point out literacy elements while reading the book. The aids I used was, of course, the actual book of Ron's Big Mission. The assessment is going to be oral response because we will talk about character, plot, setting, challenges that they overcame. What else is there? Plot. Did I say that? I don't know. But, we're going to have that conversation of what are elements. And this is going to be a whole group activity. For review, the teacher will introduce the video, Parts of a Story by Jack Hartman on YouTube. You'll see it's just a fun little video. It talks about beginning, middle, end, the characters, the setting, and what happens in the story. So it's kind of just like a video, a catchy little video to kind of catch their attention and get them ready to start the lesson.
Let's sing about the parts of a story. Keep them on your mind as you read and write. Beginning, middle, end, characters and setting. And what is the story mostly about? The beginning is when the story starts. The beginning is when the story starts. The middle is what happens next. The middle is what happens next. The end is the finish of the story. The end is the finish of the story. The characters are who is in the story. The characters are who is in the story. The setting is when and where it takes place. The setting is when and where it takes place. The main idea is what the story's mostly about. The main idea is what the story's mostly about. Go, tortoise, go! Never give up! You're a winner! Let's sing about...
So that's what that is. I find it pretty cute because it kind of jumbles everything in and it uses a tortoise and the hare, which is a classic story that we've all heard as kids. So my 3 questions I would have from the video is 1, what are the 3 parts of the story? And the kids will respond beginning, middle, end. 2, setting is when and where, and characters are who is in the story. And for this, the aids material I used was just YouTube. The kids will give me oral response, and this is going to be a whole group activity. So, procedures. So the lesson, the teacher will present the activity Story Elements Graphic Organizer, which consists of a graphic organizer worksheet to list, draw the characters, setting, problem, solution, and key events of the book I chose, which was Ron's Big Mission. So I'm going to show you that right now. So Story Elements Graphic Organizer. This is it right here. I'll make it bigger. So this is a cute little thing I found on Teachers Pay Teacher. I did not make this. There's 3 different parts of it. So, 3 different. One, see here. I could also use this one from a 2nd grade class. It has the lines to write neatly. Then they have this one that doesn't have the dotted line in the middle, and then this one with This one with no lines at all. And this also can be used on Google Slides, Google Classroom, my bad. So this would be more like for higher elementary. This one I would probably use for second grade, or maybe even the one below it with the dotted line. So I'm going to stay on this one. So first it just says story elements. Students will list the characters in the book, the setting, when and where the book takes place, the problem that the character or characters are facing, the solution, how is the problem fixed, and key events in the book. So this is where they might do kind of like a timeline, label it 1, 2, 3, or bullet it, which each sentence with bullets. And I do have in my lesson plan how I want the students to fill this out. The teacher will model how to fill out the graphic organizer. So I would tell them students can draw or list the characters. Setting can be drawn or listed. So those two, they can either draw or list it. Some might see it better visually, some might see it better written. The problem part should be written in sentence form, as well as the solution. And then, like I said, key events should be numbered or bulleted and written in sentence form. I want my students to use sentences. That will help them better in their writing and just in the long run. Number 3, the teacher will complete this activity alongside of students. So I'm going to do this with my students. I'm going to give each student a copy of the graphic organizer to fill out, while I put it on I would use Google Classroom for this instance, and project it on the smart board as we all do it together. So I would ask my students characters. I would give them some time, we discussed the story, who was in the story. I would tell my students, okay, let's name them. And I would list them, and then I would give my students like 2 or 3 minutes. You can draw the character or write the name. Same thing for setting. And then problem. We would talk about the problem. We'd list it in sentences. Solution, we list it in sentences all together. And in key events, we would all have the same thing. We would all be on the same page. So for then, after that, students would be able to present the worksheet character responses to challenges. No, I'm going to do this. I'm not the student. This consists of listing the major event and stating what the character does. So, okay, I just had a brain fart. Okay, this is what I'm going to use. This is one I already filled out for Molly. I've also got this off of Teachers Pay Teachers. But this is the one I would pass out. We would write the title right here, Ron's Big Mission. And I want my students to choose 3 characters from the book. And in Ron's Big Mission, there's really only 3 main characters in the book. I guess you could say 4, kind of. So for one, we're going to choose Ron. I'm going to just give you an example. Students would write Ron or draw Ron, however they would like it. And what does the character do? Well, in this book, Ron faces the character. It's not really racism. It's just the fact that he has to follow the rules because of other people's actions. You'll see when we read the book. But they would draw or write Ron right here, and then they would write what he does to overcome it, the challenge or event. So students will select 3 characters from the book, write down the major event or challenge, and list what the character did in response to the challenge. This will be completed in groups of 2, so students will get a partner. And then after, I would probably give my kids probably 10 minutes to fill it out. After that, we would come back as a whole class and we would discuss the responses. For closure, I'm gonna I have some time. For closure, I'm gonna take my kids to the school library and let them get an AR book. I want them to not really relate, but I think this is the best way to close out this lesson, because the book was all about Ron going to the library. So now I'm going to let my students go to the library, where they would check out books appropriate to their grade level. And for homework, I want my students to read their AR book that they got for 20 minutes, or just AAR book. They might not be starting their new one yet.